Hello and welcome to this webinar regarding advanced 3D sketching with me, Mars Brining. So first off, let's head into SolidWorks. Right, the first thing I'm going to do for people that are new to 3D sketching, we'll just go through the basics. So to do that, I'm just going to start a new part and let's go ahead and load a 3D sketch. So to get to a 3D sketch, you just go onto the Sketch tab, hit the down arrow under where it says Sketch and then go to 3D Sketch. When you actually come into a 3D sketch, the only thing you actually have to snap to or as a reference is actually the origin, okay, or any of the three standard planes. Now what I'm going to do first in here is say let's make a table, alright, and I'm going to do all the table construction, so the main framework for my table out of 3D sketch geometry. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually make use of my origin, which is the only fixed point I've got at the moment. And I'm just going to select the origin here and just click upwards. So when you're in a 3D sketch, you have three different orientations that you can sketch in, okay, by default. So you've got if I just have a look down here on the triad, so you've got a Y, an X and a Z on the triad, okay? And depending on when I'm sketching, I'm using either the X and the Y and the Z, or the Z and the X. And that depends on what orientation I've got with the tab key. So at the moment I'm using the Y and the X, and you can see that relating to the arrows that I've got here and here. Also on my actual the pencil here, you can see under it it's got XY. So for instance, when I hit the tab key now, I'm actually this time sketching on the YZ orientation, and then again if I do the ZX, you see the orientation's changed again. Now it can be very difficult when you actually first start doing 3D sketches to understand what orientation you're in. So the easiest way is if you're unsure. So for instance, if I look here, it can be difficult. So for instance, if I rotate around here, you can see what orientation that line's being put into. If for instance I was to hit the YZ now and have a look, you see the position's completely changed. And again, if I hit the ZX, even though the line looks like it's going upwards, I'm actually doing it on the it's inconsistent with the top plane at the moment actually. So just be careful that or just be aware of what orientation you're in when you come to sketch. So I'm going to go directly upwards. I'm just going to put one line down like that, and I'm just going to press escape to come off the center line tool. So I'm actually going to dimension this now. So let's say this line height is 700 tall. I'll just zoom out a little bit, and now I've got this, I'm going to go ahead and then add in some more entities. Okay, so let me just select a center rectangle, and then we'll actually snap. So once you've got entities into your 3D sketch, you can snap to any one of them. So I'm going to snap it to the end point of my center line here, and then just drag out. And again, I want to make sure I'm in the right orientation. At the moment, that's the wrong way. I want this to be my tabletop, so on its side wouldn't be of much help, and again on this side won't be of much help. So if I hit tab again, I'm going to put it into the ZX orientation like that. So that's what I'm looking for, and now I'm going to go ahead and dimension this up. So this, say that's a meter, and this one here is 1.5 meters. So the dimensioning is exactly the same as what you'd get in a 2D sketch. Alright, so all the features you get up here are exactly the same as well, and all the commands. So my my center rectangle here is still blue, so it's underdefined. So that means it's got movement, it's got degrees of freedom, and that's to do with, you can see here that when I drag this point around, I get this bounding box appear, which is attaching my point that I'm dragging to where it was originally dragged from. So in this case, I can get a good grasp of where I went from and where I'm dragging to. So in this case, to get this translation, it's actually being translated in the Z, the Y and the X to get to this point. then what I'm trying to do is just level it where it was. So the way to do that is to select a line like this, and you do get additional relations that are in a 3D sketch. So in this case I've got relations in along the X, along the Y and along the Z. So in this case I wanted to align it along the X. So if I do that, you can see it will snap it there. Now it's still underdefined, but if I just select this now, you can see I can move it up and down now. Okay, alright, but I can't move it in any other direction. So to lock that down, I'm going to select this line here, and I'm going to do this one along the Z, like so. And you can see now it's gone fully defined. Now what I'm going to do is add in some legs onto this table. So I'm going to select this point over here and this go directly downwards. Now as I said, be careful. Now it looks like I'm going directly down there, but the orientation is actually wrong. I'm in the ZX orientation at the moment. So if I rotate round, to say if you're ever unsure, you can see it's the wrong way. So if I hit the tab key now and this go directly downwards, sometimes you may actually be able to use two orientations, alright? So in this case I want to go in the Y direction, so I can either use the XY orientation or the YZ orientation. Okay, they both produce the same result, which is a line going directly downwards. So I'm just going to go around and place all 4 lines. So these will be my legs, like so. So there's 3 and that's number 4. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the ends of these lines. I need to either dimension them or tie them down so I can get the length right. So I'm actually going to use another relation on this now, which is going to be an on-plane relation. So let me just unhide a plane. So there we go. So there's my top plane, which is in this case the floor. So I'm going to select this point here and then hold down Control and then select my top plane and then use this on-plane relation. And I'm going to go and do this for the rest of the these lines, which are my legs. So there we go. And that means this dimension here is driving the length of, the height of this table now. So once I've done this, what I might do, say this is my overall framework, I could go and add some weldments to it, for instance. What I'm actually going to do is maybe split this sketch or split my framework into a number of different sketches. So I can just hide this now, so let's just hide that. And I'm going to go ahead and start another 3D sketch. Right, just a word of warning on this, make sure you have nothing selected when you go to the down arrow and select 3D sketch, otherwise it will put you back in the original sketch you just made. So make sure nothing's selected and then go to the down arrow and hit 3D sketch again. And this time I'm just going to use the line tool and I'm just going to snap it to this line over here. So I'm going to start here, so I'm going to click down there. Now if you don't snap it to anything else, so for instance I just click now, it will use the standard orientations that I've got within the sketch itself. So using my tab key, for instance, selects the orientation. In this case I don't, I actually want to snap it to this line over here, and because there's no orientation that allows me to do that, the way you have to do that is actually go and snap it to existing geometry. So you see here, if I go and click on this line now, or actually you can see the bounding box around it saying how it's translated from one point to another. So I'm just going to click it down there and you see it's actually snapped it to both ends. So at this point it's still blue, I need to dimension it up. So I'm going to say from that point to that point there, let's say that's 300, and we'll say this point here to this point is let's say 175. Alright, so in this case I'm just adding in some more lines here which I can use in a minute to make this table slightly more sturdy. So I'm just literally now adding in more lines by snapping it to existing lines and points, like so. So even though this point on the end here is now fully defined, these points aren't. So the easiest way to do this now is to select 2 points like this, and I'm going to align them along, in this case, the x-axis. So there we go. And in this one here, let's say they're along the z. Okay. So so it lines them all at the right height. Or I'll do these two. Let's do along the Z again. So that just aligns them in the right place. The other way I could have done that is to add center lines into this model as reference. So the idea is to it's just to build up your model, your framework, using existing construction geometry within your 3D sketches so you can get the desired result. So you just really have to think about that before you go ahead and try and make your 3D sketch. Like, how am I going to try and, you know, build this 3D sketch up? So what I might do now is just add in a few more lines. So we'll go from there, let's say up to here, and then I'm going to do maybe 2 more lines. Let's say one from there to the center point of that line, and another one to this one here, like that. And at this point I can then exit my sketch, and I've got my framework fully made now in 2 different 3D sketches. I can go ahead and then go to the Weldments tab in this case, and I'm just going to do some structural members for this. So let's do, say, we'll do these legs first, like so, and then maybe do a new group which will be these ones here, like that, and then a new group which is, let's say, these can be a little bit tricky to select, these ones here, because you see it's selecting the wrong line. What I can do is just right click on the line and go to select other, and then it makes it slightly easier for me to select if you have 2 lines on top of one another, it will always pick the longest one. Okay, so let me just go and do some more here. So we'll do these ones as well, and then the last group, which is going to do, I should be able to get this in 2 groups, so that one and that one. So again, I've done this all in one Weldment structure, so they should trim. I'm not saying the trim will be perfect in here. I might need to spend some more time, you know, getting the trim order correct, but you get the idea of how I can build, you know, a 3D framework very quickly using 3D sketches, which obviously doing something like that with 2D sketches can be a bit of a pain. So now I've done that, what I'm going to do is just show you guys one other way or one other example of 3D sketching which may come in handy to you. So let me just go ahead and load the part that I need. Okay, so here's my part which I'm going to use to demonstrate some additional 3D sketching techniques. Now what I'm going to do in here is attach these ports here to these ports here using flexible hosing. Okay, so like a braided hose or a rubber hose, for instance. You can also use this technique for electrical wiring. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to add a 3D sketch in, which is literally I'm going to use for just for reference. So I'm going to go ahead and just add in some lines into here. So let's do that one as well, like so, and that one as well. And now I've got these in place. What I'm going to do is just add in another line that's going in the right orientation. So we'll say that way there, and then in the ZX orientation like so. And then I'm just going to add in some more lines between, let's say there and there. If you can't get the orientation, you can always just add relations manually, like so. And I just need one more. So that point and that line. Now at the moment everything's still underdefined, and the reason is these can be dragged away, even though they're centered on these, or they're using the edges on this circle as a reference. I can still pull it away from the actual face. So to do that, I'm going to select the point and then select the face using the control key and use an on-plane relation. And I'll just do this on these other ones as well. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and dimension this up. So we'll say that is, say 75. I think that'll be about, that's probably actually a bit, let's do something like 100. That'll do it. And then I'll go ahead and then add in some more dimensions. So we'll say that is 65. Maybe the angle between these two is 110. Alright. And if I just go and drag these around, you can see the movement, so it's still pivoting on this point here. So I'm going to add in another center line between there and Okay, so now I've got that line added in, I'm just going to go ahead and align it along the x-axis, like so, and I'm actually going to add in 2 more lines here very quickly. So we'll do one going down like that, and then another one like so. So let's just align that along Y, and we'll make that, let's say 75, and this one 50. So let's just have a look at the total height. So actually I might make this a bit smaller, let's say that's 75. There we go. Right, so all I've done here really, I'm going to use this 3D sketch I've made here as a reference for creating some 3D and some more 3D sketches which have got splines in them. So to do that, I'm going to just go and load a new 3D sketch, and then I'm going to go from let's say this point here, and then I'm going to go through this point here and then across to the center of this circle over there. At the moment, obviously, it would be a fairly kinked hose if I put it in like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some additional lines in here, making sure I'm in the right orientation again. So there's one there, and I'm going to do another one like that. So I'm going to select that point and that line, and select that point and that, and just make them. So again, I'm using on plane relations just to make sure it's using the back face. And I'm going to select this spline, and then select this line, and then make them tangent on that end. And again, select that line and my end of my spline this end, and then make them tangent that end. So that gives me my sweep path which I'm going to use. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the other ones now. So this one is going to be snapped to the center of this circle, and then I'm going to go to this point, then to that point, and then across to this point over here. Alright, and then I've got, after that I'm going to do just a few more lines again. So I do like that, and then a few more, so at that point there and that back face. So I'm just making that on plane, so that point and that back face on plane again. So that's my second sketch done now. I just need to make sure the tangencies again are in place, so we'll do that one and that one. There we go. And what I might do is just adjust the leaders on these a little bit. So there we go. So the handles, just adjust the curvature if you need to. And then the third one, let's just go and make a new 3D sketch again. This one's going to be again on this center there, through this point here, through that point, and then across to this circle over there. And same as before, I need to put some lines on the end of it, so like that, and this just make that point and that circle on plane. Alright, put a construction line in, that's no point. I'll just turn that off so it's not construction anymore. Select this point and then select that back face, make it on plane. And again, I need to select these two, so the actual spline and my end line, and again the spline and the end line there, make them tangent. So that's my 3 hoses now made. I can go ahead now and create the 3D sweeps, well the actual sweeps for them. First thing I need to do is actually have a profile on the end of these, so I'm going to select this inside face here and start just a 2D sketch on it, and just use the Convert Entities button. So for those of you who are new to the Convert Entities, it converts existing sketch lines and edges and projects them onto my sketch. So you can see here that projecting this edge is actually just put a circle into my sketch. Alright, so that's one profile done. I'm just going to go and do the other one. So again, start a sketch on this face. I've already got the face selected, so when I hit Convert Entities, it will automatically do the edge of that face and project it onto my sketch plane, which is actually coincident with the face. So that's why you don't see any translation in the actual the actual geometry itself. And lastly, let's do a sketch on this face, and again convert entities on that. So that's another reason why I made these lines go up to this face. Obviously for sweeps, the end of the sweep profile has to be coincident with part of my profile. So sorry, the path line here has to be coincident with my actual profile. So at this point I can go ahead and use the sweep tool. So that's going to be my profile, that's going to be my path, so there's one done, and then let's do another one. So again, profile and then path, and lastly profile and then path. And when I go OK, you can see here that it's actually made, see it's made some very nice fluid transitions between one to the other, which obviously is what you'd expect with flexible hosing. Okay, so it's a nice way that you can tie down 3D geometry using 3D sketch construction lines and then using splines in this instance. Okay, that's all we've got time for today, so thanks for watching. I say if you have any questions regarding what we've done here, you can always give us a ring, or you're interested in SolidWorks, give us a ring or email us at this address here. Alright, thanks for watching.